It was an underwhelming game. It really was. Miami beats Florida State 36-14. And it reminded me of a team I know very well playing Florida State. I'm going to get to that in a second. Welcome to the channel. I'm Brian. I'm glad you're here. It's a beautiful day. I mean, unless your team lost yesterday or unless you're dead. Hope you'll subscribe. It is free. It's the sweetest words in the English language, which I believe is free. Anyway. All right. Let's talk about Miami and Florida State. This is not going to be a long video. Miami comes out undefeated. You know, they're 7-0. They're playing Florida State, a team that I mean, I've never seen a team fall apart like Florida State. They had the season like they did last year, give their coach a fat contract, big buyout, and then they go 1-6, and now they're 1-7 after last night's loss. Now, Cam Ward did what Cam Ward does. He's a very talented player. And for any of you Miami fans who are sitting there going, you just dog on us, man. I've told you, Cam Ward is very talented. Restrepo, I think, lives in the shadows of so many other players, but that guy can play. Damian Martinez, that was a great pickup out of the transfer portal. But Miami's always been talented. Talent at Miami has never really been the problem. It's been coaching. And it's also been the administration not knowing who to hire, not realizing they don't know how to hire a football coach. Or quite frankly, not caring. But Miami comes out there. They beat Florida State. Cam Ward finishes with 1 touchdown. Receiving, that is. He finishes with a receiving touchdown, that was a really good play call. I like creative plays. I think it's a great way to get players, or all the players involved, get a sense of excitement among all the fans. But Cam Ward did not throw a touchdown in this game. He didn't throw a touchdown in this game. He didn't throw an interception, though. He's 22 of 35, 208. He was sacked, I believe, 4 times yesterday. My memory serves me correct. He was sacked 4 times in this game. That's more of a head scratcher than anything. How was that guy sacked 4 times in this game? And by the way, I did watch a lot of the game, and I saw the sacks. And don't give me, well, he got sacked. And Florida State has not been that good. In fact, they've been quite terrible. Now, Florida State's defensive line will do okay here and there. They will give some pushback. But that was 4 sacks. That was crazy. Let's talk about Miami and Clemson, because Miami and Clemson are the 2 leading teams to go to the ACC championship at this very moment. That's what everybody's talking about. If all 3 teams, including SMU, went out, by the way, they went into overtime with Duke. No one's really sold on SMU, and no one is definitely not sold on Pittsburgh, because you got to remember with Pittsburgh the other night, they had 3 pick sixes, which is, I mean, that's impressive, but you're not even going to get 1 pick 6, much less 3 in most of your games. Most people aren't going to do that. So, anyway, it's Clemson and Miami. Even if all 3 teams, including SMU, went out, Clemson and Miami would take the tiebreaker at this point. Both teams did not play Florida State as well as you would have thought they would have. Clemson beat Florida State 29-13. I think that was right off the top of my head, 29-13. Miami beats them 36-14. And I know people are going to start doing that thing where we beat them by more points, so therefore, maybe. Most of the time it doesn't work. I mean, when you're thinking about that, remember Nebraska lost 56-7 last week to Indiana and then turned around and almost beat Ohio State yesterday. So be careful with that. I used to do that, and then I grew up. With that said, Miami looked underwhelmed playing against Florida State. I know it's a rivalry, but they looked underwhelming at times. Clemson looked underwhelming against the artist formerly known as Florida State. I was not sitting there looking at Miami going, oh, well, this is the greatest team ever. Oh, wow, this is a contender team. Just like when I watched Clemson play Florida State, and I'm about to get into the doghouse with, or the Tiger's Den, whatever you want to say, pun intended, with Clemson fans here. But when I watched Clemson play Florida State, that did not look like a playoff-worthy Clemson team. It didn't. And Miami, transparently, rivalry or not, that didn't look like a playoff-worthy football team. And I want to say this to Miami because I had someone send me a message on or make a comment on one of my videos and said, Clemson's played no one. Who do you think you are to talk about strength of schedule? And I want to address that publicly. I want to put it out here on the interwebs. And I want to tell you or ask you, have you ever watched any of my videos before? Have you heard how critical I am of my own team? Apparently not. Buckle up. Clemson hasn't played anybody. Last time they did, they got beat by 31 points. Clemson has a lot to prove. I just did a video talking about how Vanderbilt is the most impressive team in college football right now when you consider all the talent they don't have, all the history they don't have, all the money that's coming in that they don't have coming in from donors. You know, like Texas and Georgia and Ohio State, all those teams, they have it, and they have all the history and all the talent and the high-paid coach and everything. Vanderbilt doesn't have that, and they're more impressive than a lot of these teams. Why? Because they're winning. They're competitive with. They almost beat Texas. They did beat Alabama after Bama beat Georgia. My point in saying all of this is Clemson nor Miami has played anyone and beat that anyone. Neither one of them have. Now, I'm not saying Clemson's not getting better. I'm not saying that Clemson's not improving. I'm not saying that Miami is not improving. I'm not saying that Miami wouldn't beat Clemson head-to-head in the ACC championship. I'm not saying that, Hurricane fans. Here's what I am going to tell you. When I look at Oregon and when I look at Georgia, and I had an unfortunate up-close look at Georgia in the very first game of the year, I'm going to tell you, still to this day, Clemson nor Miami looks anything like Georgia when it comes to dominance. Well, you ain't got Ray Lewis playing for you. I saw your defense. Your defense has been giving up points week after week until yesterday. You played a team that is dejected, has given up, and their athletic department can't fire their coach because, well, they gave him, a $60 million buyout? Miami nor Clemson has proven anything this year other than they can beat the teams they're supposed to beat. And that's good. I'll take that. But to answer that question, and I'm hearing it more and more from Miami fans, not all of them. I got 904 Hurricane. I don't know if he's here in the comments section, but I'm just going to say this and just make it clear that Clemson and Miami has beaten no one. I'm glad that Clemson hasn't lost to the nobodies. Clemson's putting up more yardage, but most importantly, more points on nobodies. Last year, they were not doing it. The year before that, they were not doing it. The year before that, they were struggling to do it against nobodies. You remember that very boring game against Georgia Tech that they almost lost? That's when we knew things were really, really bad. That was DJ's first season. But my point in saying all of this is that Clemson and Miami have beaten no one to prove that they're truly a contender. You can't say that about Oregon. You can't say that about Georgia. Heck, even though Alabama's lost some games, they did beat Georgia. Heck, Vanderbilt, even with that terrible loss to Georgia State, at least beat Alabama and then took Texas to the wire yesterday. Who can Miami or Clemson say they took to the wire? So, sorry, Canes, I'm not sold that my team is back. And I'm pulling for them, and I hope they are back. I hope they're getting better, and I think they are getting better in certain areas. Offensive line, I think we're getting better there. Definitely when our wide receivers are healthy, they're a handful. Tight end room's fantastic. Quarterback's getting better, blah, 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 blah. I say that about my own team. In Miami, you are there with them. You've beat nobody. You almost lost to California. You almost lost to Louisville. You almost lost to, who was that other team? Can't even remember who it was. Oh, yeah, Virginia Tech. And you can say almost, if. Wait until you play a really talented team. And that's when if becomes when. All right, get in here. So if I say that about my own team, I'll say it about you, Miami. John Thomas, good to see you in here. Supporter of the show, I see that. Thank you so much for supporting the show on a monthly basis. I appreciate that. John Thomas, good to see you. Jimmy Jam. It reminds me of on Parks and Rec, that guy. You've been jammed. He had the big poofed up hair. Love that. Joe Hughes having withdrawals. Come on Saturday. Need some Tiger football. I know. Playing. That's going to be a tough game against Louisville. We are averaging 25 to 40 the past decade. It plummeted this year for the first time in forever. Can't wait. Can't live like you are a thief in the night, stealing games and winning natty. That's true. My mind doesn't comprehend how DJ balled out the 2 games he played. First year, then looked like trash. I'm going to tell you, development, and I'm going to leave that there. Nobody wants to hear that, Kevin, but I am going to stick with that narrative until someone proves me wrong. The biggest dupe in Clemson history. There we go. Folks, let me know what you think. Miami, Clemson, would these be if they win out, both of these teams win out, Clemson's got a harder schedule ahead of them than what we all thought. Louisville, Virginia Tech. I want to be careful what I say about Pittsburgh, but I'm not sold on them. Go look at who they haven't played. South Carolina, you may despise the chickens. I know, I'm with you. The only way I like a chicken is if it's fried. Okay? But South Carolina's playing better ball. And it's according to which South Carolina you get. Ask LSU. Ask Bama. They're tougher than what you think. You got to be careful with them. Folks, the AP Top 25 just came out. I'm about to do a live AP Top 25. Hope you'll be there in just a second. Y'all take care of yourself. Hope you'll subscribe. It is free. Y'all be good. And as always, go Tigers.